This video will help you write the full electron configuration for number 11 on your electron configuration practice worksheet. I'm going to write the full configuration for gallium, again from its placement on the periodic table. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the element. And the element's gallium. This is number 31. And I always will start on row number 1 where hydrogen is. So the period is what I'll write down first. So I start at 1. That's the energy level. That's the period that's listed here. And I'm going to travel through that element until I get to, or I'm going to start through hydrogen and end up at the element that I'm at. So I go all the way across, and I'm not to gallium yet, but I've gone through 1s1 for hydrogen, and I've gone through 1s2 for helium. So that's my first part of my configuration is 1s2. I have to start back over here at lithium, so I write down the period that I'm in, which is 2. I enter what I have colored here is red. Anything that's red is an s orbital, so it is 2s, and this is 2s1, and then this is 2s2. I leave the s block from beryllium, and there's nothing in between, so I go all the way over to where I have green boron. Boron is a p block. I'm still in the second row. I'm now in a new orbital called the p orbital, and this is p1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've gone through the second row, and I have not gotten to gallium yet. So I have to go back down to row number 3. So that becomes my new energy level. I enter the S block. I go through the 2 elements in the S block, so 3s2 is full. I leave magnesium. I enter aluminum, that is, I'm still in the 3rd energy level, new orbital P, and I go through P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 3p6 is full. So since it is full, I have to start back down here at period 4. So I write my principal energy level. I'm in the S block. I will go through potassium and calcium, so my S block is full. Now I have elements. Starting with scandium, I have transition metals, and they're in between the S block and the P block, so I must start filling my electrons in the D block. The thing to remember is a d orbital is lower in energy than the p orbital in this case. So I have to, when I leave the 4s block and enter the d block, I need to subtract 1 from the row that I'm on. So I will be in the d block, so 3d. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 elements in the d block, so that 3d orbital is completely full. I leave the d block. From zinc I get to gallium, and I have to go back up to my 4th energy level. I go down when I am in the D, and I go back up to get back to the P. So I'm in 4P, and that's 4P1. To shorten this, to write the noble gas configuration for gallium, I need to look up and go all the way over and find the noble gases. The noble gases are all these elements here. So the noble gas that's up and over, 1 period up, is argon. So I'm going to write its noble gas configuration, and I always start with the noble gas and the period above it, argon. Argon is 18 electrons. So it is gallium and argon are the same for these inner electrons. It is different by being larger and having 31 electrons, and those extra electrons have to go somewhere. So I include how it's different. It is 4s2. Since the d orbital is not since the d orbital is complete and having 10 electrons, I don't have to write it in my noble gas configuration. So I can go 4s2, 4p1. If I include it, if I say argon, 4s2, 3d10, 4p1, that is okay. This will cover question 16, molybdenum. It's a D-block element, but a D-block element on the 5th row of the periodic table. So to write it from the periodic table, again, I start before hydrogen and follow the path until I get to molybdenum, which is number 42 down here. So since I started at hydrogen and I'm not at molybdenum, I am full through the first energy level, so 1s2. Then I start back at lithium. I go all the way through lithium, beryllium into the p block. So I have 2s2 filled, 2p6 filled, and so I start back over. At period 3, I go through the S block. I'm in 3s1, 3s2. When I leave magnesium, I enter the p block, 3p, when I get to aluminum. So I have filled up 3s2, 3p6, which means I have to go to the 4th row. 4th row, I start at 4s because it's at S block, so I have 4s2. When I go through calcium, I now enter the D block. The rules are for the D block, subtract 1 from the energy level you're on, so I am in the 3D. I go all the way through the D block, so my 3D orbital is completely full at 3D10. I continue into the P block now at gallium, but since I am in the P block is part of the 4th energy level, so I have to increase my level from 4. So once I leave the 3D, I go back to the 4P, and that is completely full. So we'll go to the 5th row. I start the 5th row, so I'm at 5s. I go through 5s, so that is completely full. So I'm 5s, 2. Once I leave strontium, I go into the transition metals. I'm on row 5. Now I enter the D block, so 5 minus 1. I'm now going to fill up the 4D electrons. 4D. And how many does it take to get to molybdenum? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4D, 4. The noble gas configuration for this element is going to be krypton. So I will say, sorry for all the lines, krypton. And krypton takes care of all of these inner electrons. So 5s2, 4d4.